Hello, good evening, and welcome back to Easy 8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, and for the next 2 hours I'm going to be sat here with you painting my miniatures, hopefully motivating you, but certainly keeping you company at the very least. If you like what we do here, and you haven't done it already, please do consider subscribing to the show. Every subscriber goes a long way to making the community grow, and if you can believe it, we're actually currently at 190 subscribers. A big, round, healthy, happy number. I'm so happy with that. Got a couple more subscribers out of a short video I did just the other week, which I'm going to talk about very briefly in just a minute, because I'm very excited, because I did a thing. I finished something. If you're new here, Easy 8's not a tutorial show or anything like that. There's loads of that sort of stuff out there already. Go and check them out because they're brilliant and way better than I am. I'm literally a guy who just needs to paint some stuff because I never get anything finished until the other day where I actually finish the thing, and I'm very, very excited about it. So yeah, if you're painting something this evening, come and let us know all about it. You can come and join this motley crew over here in the live chat or wherever it appears on your screen, because every time I look at someone else's screen, it's in a different location. But there is a live chat, and feel free to join in with those and come and, you know, make some friends, etc. And come and make friends with me, because I'm ever so lonely. Of course, if you're watching in a different time zone or you're just not that chatty tonight, you can always just drop a little line in the comment section downstairs. I read everything that goes in there, and you can find us also not just here on YouTube, but on Facebook, on Instagram, and if you want to, you can join me at the end of the show on a live video chat on Discord at the Easy 8 After Party. Links to all of our platforms, etc., again, are all downstairs. You can go and check them all out if you want to. Oh, I feel like I rushed that a little bit. Calm down. I like it when it times out with music. That's really nice, isn't it? Anyway, I'm really excited because last week I finished the thing. I finished my little Sherman tank, and I'm so happy with this. This is a tank that, if you've been watching for the last few weeks, you'll know that I've been doing as a kind donation to Duncan, Duncan's Band of Brothers. Get my words out. A wonderful charity who travels around the country, taking war games and history. To hospitals, to schools, to village fetes, to everything really, to model shows, to trade events, whatever, and is going to be going to the Normandy beaches, specifically Utah Beach, on the 6th of June, which of course, as we all know, is D-Day, the 80th anniversary, a spectacular celebration of our victory over Europe, or leading up to the victory over Europe anyway. And what's more important, or what's more impressive rather, sorry, is that Duncan is also going to be taking his 4x4, that's a lot of fours, basically a 16 by 4 foot table, which shows you all, you know, of Braycourt Manor up to the Utah Beach itself. And that area features, like specifically in the first episode of the Band of Brothers, which is like the 2003, or was it 2001? Very early 2000 series, which still stands up today. And I love it. I watched it again a little while ago. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. Braycourt Manor was an area, like well, essentially a big house with a lot of land, and it had 4 very large assault guns, artillery guns, that was keeping the Allies at bay. And Easy Company, who the program's all about, had to go and take them all down. And it's a very, very true story, and it actually has gone down in history as the perfect account of small group tactics against a larger force, and it's still studied today. Absolutely fantastic episode and a really good story to read on, but of course it's being featured on this game board. My dad, Jeff at Purple Lion Creations, has made, with the help of Sarissa Precision, has made Braycourt Manor itself, and I've seen it now. It's finished. It's all being packaged up, and I believe it is currently on its way to Duncan's Band of Brothers, where it's going to initially star at the UK Games Expo at the end of this month on the 31st of May to the 2nd of June in Birmingham. And you should definitely go and check that out as well, because it's a massive event and it's going to be there. And no sooner as that event finished does it have to get packed in a van, travel down to the south coast on a ferry across the channel over to the Normandy beaches, where it'll be taken down to the Utah Beach Museum, which is going to be having like a really big sort of celebration. I don't know. I still get stuck on the word celebration. Is it a celebration? Feels maybe like that might be bad taste, but it certainly is an anniversary of that momentous event, and it's very exciting, and I feel very privileged to even be playing a small part of that, and that is of course by donating my little M4 Sherman, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that in just a second up close. Anyway, If I haven't already said it at light speed today, I seem to be very, very excited. Do come and join in the live chat. Tell us all about the things that you're painting this evening. I genuinely would like to know. Anyway, grab a brew. Let's get some paint on your grey. I'm going to take you over to the workbench. Here we go. Who we've got joining us in the live chat anyway? We've got Kez. Hi Kez. I will be putting numbers on my dropship this evening and painting some buildings. Photos or it never happened, please. It's a very, very bright blue and yellow. I expect it's probably going to be dulled down a little bit with some extra effects, etc. But it still looks absolutely astonishing. That is my team making me burp. I'm so sorry. Adrian's put, greetings one and all tonight, Matthew. Tonight, Matthew, I shall be trying to finish my last 10 World Eater Berserkers. For those of you that don't know that reference, I'm not going to tell you. You have to go and Google it. Brethren has joined us. Hi, Brethren. Nice to see you again. Good evening tonight. I'm editing a how to play video. Yeah, I saw your little snippet up on Facebook earlier. I'm very excited. Let us know when that drops. I want to go and watch it. Stafford says, I'm here and painting, and apparently Danny's late. Yeah, do you know what? We've all got lives to live. I'm not going to hold it against myself anymore. Jeff's joined us again. Oi, oi, everyone. Hi, Dad. Nice to see you again. Crumbs, evening peeps. Hi, Crumbs. How you doing? 10 more subs till the cat's appearance. Yeah, man. They're coming. Yeah. You can calm down too, Dad. Yeah, do you know what? They actually got in the other night because it's really hot. I was up here the other day taking advantage of one evening I had by myself, playing some video games online. Just out of shot, just up here, there's a skylight, and just up there's a skylight as well. My cats have recently learned in the very hot weather that when they're outside, they can somehow get onto the roof. It's actually not that difficult for them, and yeah, they seem to be running around on the rooftops. It's a very tall house and there's a very, very big drop, but they get up there and I had this feeling that someone was watching me as I was playing my game with my surround sound headphones on, and I looked up and my cat was just peering at me. It gave me the fright of my life, so I picked her up and chucked her out the door and like, no, you can't be in here, and how rude of you to scare me. And about half an hour later on, she just pounced on me through the window. She did it again, so I have to make sure that the windows are actually sealed, or at least not open far enough that they can get in, because they might get in during the show and I won't know straight away. You'll see them like plop in behind me or something. So yeah, they've been in recently. Adria says, it was the second episode. The first episode was Kurohi. You're absolutely correct. Yes, thanks for correcting me. Breakout Manor is in the 4th board. I will share some pics later after the show. Fantastic. Yeah, commemoration. You're right, Adrian. It is the right word. We should celebrate the victory, but I don't think that this event should be a celebration. It is a commemoration. Of course, so many thousands of people lost their lives for us. And I think that's really the big takeaway there, isn't it? That's what it's all about. Just tidying up my desk while I show you my Sherman. Here it is. If you want to see a little reveal videos, there's a short going around that I did. You can go and check that out. It's had loads of views. I'm very proud of myself. It's one of my very few shorts that I've done. But yeah. Do I think I could have made this better? Absolutely I could. I was definitely rushing because, well, we all know me. I can't seem to really keep to deadlines very well, and I had a deadline to do. One of the things I've noticed is that with a little bit of handling, the paint is coming away in a few key spot areas. I'm not going to point those out because I don't want you to see them. But also, if you can't see them, you can't see them, right? I know where they are. They're very, very small. And that is because as I was spraying it down, I probably didn't put enough protective layers of varnish on, etc. Probably over-weathered it a little bit. I would like to have toned it down a little. But I am really pleased with where it's at. It does look very, very cool. Prior to putting all the weathering on, which I did get very slap happy with, it had a lot more vibrant green showing through, and a lot of the sort of shaded effects from light to dark do seem to be diminished. It is there, you can see it, but it is much more diminished, and I spent a lot of time trying to do that, and I preferred that showing through. So I would have not have weathered it so much, but it does look kind of cool, right? I do like it. D63 is a personal number to me. I'm going to tell you what it is. There you go. But of course I do have Danny Boy written on the side. That was a suggestion from my dad Jeff, who's in the live chat right now, and I was going to try and do it with cutting up some decals of all the little names that come with the tank and whatever, and I could have done it. It would have been very, very difficult because all the letters with the numbers would have been this big. That would have been too much for me. So I just decided to handwrite it because it would have been handwritten, hand painted. It looks like my handwriting, but that's the point, right? Anyway, there we go. It's got a couple of allied stars in there. I had a spare allied star, so I stuck one on the turret. It came with 3, so I put one on each side and one on the front, and I put one on the side of the turret. I kept it really simple, really. Chuck some little fuel stains on the top just to kind of give it a bit of a grimy appearance on the top. Didn't really pay too much heed as to where that was going to go, but generally, really, really happy with it. It looks cool. And everyone who's been over to my house and looked at it's gone, ooh, that's really good. So, you know, yeah, there are stuff that I could do differently. Now I'm not going to do anymore. But also, that is not only am I just sending that to Duncan, here's one that Kez made earlier. So as a part of this whole thing that we've been doing with Duncan's Band of Brothers, is I put out a call to arms. If anyone wanted to join in, they could buy any bolt action model or even Actum Panzer model through Overlord Games at 5% discount on top of a very healthy 20% discount that Overlord automatically applies, and which I believe is still live. I mean, you need to go and check out the basket details at Overlord Games now. I think it's still until the end of the month. If you type in the code EASY8, all one word, in your voucher promo code at the shopping basket. So Kez decided to buy a Panzer IV, painted it up in these really cool mottled camouflage effects. And I'm going to put it in the same package and send it to Duncan also. What I really like about this is it's Kez's first attempt at painting anything historical, and I think it's an absolutely astounding job. So well done to you, Kez. Done this kind of mottled camouflage effect by just getting what is essentially a little mini dry brush and just blobbing it on, and I really, really like it. These colours are also matched through Army Painter paints. They're not actually specifically World War II German camouflage colours, and I think has done a very good job in making it what it is. So well done, Kez, and I promise you this time I won't break it, because the last time I picked it up I went snip and then snipped off the shirts on the side here, which is the side skirts. So we've got a Panzer IV and a Sherman M4 to go to Duncan's Band of Brothers for the 80th anniversary. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, Fairy Ninjas for the win, says Crumbs. Yeah, man, just give me another 10 subscribers and they're coming in. No tanks, though. Oh, sorry, I've gone a bit ahead of myself. I just watched the film The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, based on a true event in World War II. Very good, however, no tanks. Brilliant, that's cool. I haven't seen it yet, I'd like to. That's a very nice looking Sherman, thank you very much, I really appreciate that. Yeah, I could have done it better, but it is still very good, and I'm very happy with that. So, I'm just going to take these away for now. Down here. Popping. Yeah. Did forget to wash the inside of the tracks. Yeah. Well done, Kez. Nice Panzer IV. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It's good. Right. What am I doing this evening? Well, I thought that because I've finished the project, which I'm very happy about, I thought I'd take the opportunity maybe for a week or two, just go back over some old projects which I said were done, but aren't actually done, and I'm terrible for that. So, what I'm doing is I'm going to go back and revisit some 40k things. Here is a robot that I painted. I love these robots. They're very 60s retro style, aren't they? I love the sort of the rounded features on them. The model itself is painted, is finished. I love him. He is great. Can I do them better? Yes, I can. But that's a part of my development process. What I need to do to finish this is do something more with the base. I'm quite happy to leave this base as it is. The trim does need a little bit of neatening up. The problem that I've got with it is his brother, which is over here. He's got a flamethrower on him, and he's just as cool. Absolutely love it. I got a little bit better on the second time around, but the base isn't finished at all. As you can see, I've just done like an undercoat on there and painted the rim to neaten it all up. So it does need finishing off. So what do I do to finish them? I've also got, if you remember a little while ago, I was painting up this what do I call it? Ballistara unit. It's like a Strider, isn't it? Again, love the aesthetic. I think they're wonderful. What I do enjoy about this model is it's got a cross between the damaged and weathered metal parts, but then also it's kind of got the cloth of the cloak up here, which doesn't have all that metal weathering, so it's kind of like a crossover between all the different styles that I've done so far. So I've done some infantry now, I've done some robots, but these two here, they need basing. So that's going to be my next project, really. Now, The reason I don't like this base very much is, for starters, it's very, very flat and uninspiring. There's nothing really going on there, and that's really lazy. A base, for me, should tell a story. It should tell you about where it is, what it's doing, the things it's going through, the environment that it's in. And all I've done here is a sort of a dirty, deserty base. And the reason I haven't really got into that too much is because I still don't really know how to achieve the thing in my mind's eye. What I wanted to do was a Martian base, but I wanted to make it slightly more orangey. And I've been trying to get very, very dusty effects going. I wanted it to look very, very arid. So the way that I've been achieving that is by using pigments, because they're dry, they're powder. You can apply water, but they end up being very, very dry. You add water, the water evaporates eventually, and it leaves you with a dry appearance still, but you'll end up with like tide marks or water marks where the water has kind of allowed it to settle and gather, etc. So you don't get the same sort of effect. I wanted a very dusty, arid effect, but I struggle using pigments. I really, really do. So yeah, I don't quite know how to achieve it. I think my main problem here is if I can get I haven't turned my autofocus off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly go over to autofocus. Let's turn that off. And can I... That's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, that's better. Let's go with that for a second. The problem I've got here is I've used the crackle paint to create that sort of dried riverbed sort of appearance that we all know and love. But I think that the contrasts are in the wrong direction. You can see that all of the pigment that I've used has settled between all of the cracks, and the chunks, for lack of a better term, the flakes, are generally darker. I think the contrast should be that the flakes are dry. Sorry, the flakes are dry. The flakes should be light, not dry, and then there should be like a darker shadow running in between them. If you look at any images of a dry riverbed, it's all the same colour, and the only difference really is shadow in the cracks. But that looks a bit bland and a little bit unthought out as a model. It doesn't look like that I've done an awful lot. It looks lazy and it looks quite flat and uninspiring. So I don't really know how to achieve that. I have been practicing on a little practice base over here. It's got loads of junk all over it. I just kind of practice different techniques as and when. And on this little patch over here, where you can see that I've just put pigment powder all over it, and that's dried and sealed, etc. I tried putting a little bit of Agrax Earthshade on here. I tried to get it into just the cracks, but you can see that it's spilled out all over the place, and it's gone the other way. So now it's just all looks really, really dark. If I was to then try to counter that by putting pigment on top of it, it would get into the cracks. So I don't really know how to do this. Now I think what I could do is just really, really water down some Agrax Earthshade. It would break the surface tension, and it would bead into the cracks, and I should be able to lift it away with a dry brush when it's settling on the cracks. That's my next sort of attempt. Kez is saying, from an outside view, I think the base is good, does not need anything else. Well, thank you very much. That's actually really kind. But it just needs something. Also, the orange on the base and the pigments that I've used is very, very similar to the orange on the vehicle itself. And I know that that's if you're painting orange as a camouflage, that's kind of the deal. But again, it's a miniature. I think it needs to stand out a little bit. I think that the Ballistari Strider will probably do that better because there's a lot more metal on the bottom end. So yeah. Anyway, to go along with that, I've also got like a few of these sort of slaty stones that I pinched from my neighbour's little flower bed yard thing out the front of our houses. Sorry, Adrian, if you're watching this. I don't think he does, so I think I'm safe. But what I really like about these particular stones, these two in particular, is the shapes that they've got, and you can see that because they're slates, they have like flat layers, and especially when you look at them on their side profile, you kind of get all these, I don't know if I'm going to use the right word, striation layers, like you might expect on a coast where you're getting lots of layers kind of coming through. And if you look at some pictures of Mars as an example, you will see that there are rocky outcrops that show up as very grey through the red sort of land, the dusty land, and that's kind of what I want to do. I want to create a nice contrast between browny oranges and greys poking out through. I've tried to do it in previous models, and I've kind of done all right. I can certainly get better at it. So I need to have stark greys, and I need to get good grey colouring. Although that, as a stone, fairly unpainted, it's been dry brushed very basically. That's pretty much on the money, I think. And what I want to do is make sure that it comes down to a flat surface. So I want it to be kind of flat, scooping out of the soil, so it looks like that it kind of tapers down into the base, and then kind of the edges here, like the exposed edges on this stone, for example, where you can see all these different layers in there, kind of stands out prominently, and it looks like those sort of NASA photographs you can see. Hopefully that makes sense, and you guys can help advise me through this process. Because yeah, these guys are lacking. What they also need is some scatter, and I've got, I'll just get my dry-o-matic out of the way. I've got like a little tub in here somewhere. Yeah, some cork pieces. This is just bits of cork broken down, bits of old like table mat, because they come, you know, sometimes you get those made of cork, can't you? I've got some sand somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where that is, but I can dig that out in a second. There it is. Oh. This is an archaic pot of Games Workshop sand that I used for loads of Space Marine models about 1 million years ago. Barely scratched the surface, and what I really like about this is that there is various different sizes of rock and sand in there, and just a very, very quick scoop through it all, you could start actually sorting out the things that you want to. And I remember painting Space Marines and actually picking out little rocks. So I've got different grades of things that I can put on there. Just says, yeah, I quite like a plain base myself. Yeah, it's not that I want to go like overly extravagant. I just think it needs just a little bit more dimension to it. That's what I'm trying to get here. I don't want to like have layers and layers. And you see some people making heroic bases. They're almost for like a display, aren't they? I don't want layers and layers of, you know, concrete and road and things sticking up, and it adds an extra inch in height to your model. I don't want that. I just want a little bit more interest brought to the sight line, really. So yeah, I've got two things to do essentially. That is to put some more physical things on them, maybe leave this one like it is, that's fine, but to try and explore colour use a little bit more as well as the second thing to do there. And I really struggle with this, frankly, so yeah. The problem is I've got very limited space on the bases to do too much with them. So what I've been doing is kind of playing around with the shapes of these rocks and the space that I've got to put on them, having the right side kind of standing up. What I quite like is the way that looks side on. I think that looks kind of cool. I don't want it like completely covering him, like he stood behind it. But if I had it over one side, I think that looks kind of nice like that. Having it this way looks, I quite like the depth that it kind of sinks to in there. If I turn it slightly more sideways, you can see what I mean. It has some depth to it. If I turn it over onto this side, I could kind of tilt it over and lay it down flat, like it's kind of coming out of the ground. This one here's got a much thinner side to it, so I could do something like this. I think that looked quite nice. So I could even putty around it, glue it down and putty around him. Quite like that as a look. Could even try and get in between his feet a little bit, like this. Some things that I could do. Of course, if I'd actually built this model, which I didn't do, it was given to me as a gift. What I could do is actually build it so it stood on one of the rocks and make it look a little less like he's standing either side of it, which of course ultimately looks like I've just stuck a rock in front of his feet. But you can only work with what you've got, right? So yeah, I've got some things to do. I'm thinking with this one, because I've got lots more space down here, this might be a good one to actually put two rocks on side by side, and actually make them look like that they are, you know, part of the same rock feature, perhaps. That'd be quite nice. Or like he's put one in there and like he's stepping over it. So yeah, some things to consider. But colour. I like the saturation of the dry deserty colour on this practice base. I don't like the darkness on top of all of the cracks on this one. So yeah, at the very least, I'm going to get some colour on him. So I've got some tough decisions to make. What am I going to put on his base? I've also got this little piece here as well. I did practice some painting on it when I was playing with some oranges. That looks awful, but I will paint over that. The first one was nice, he says. Okay, cool. Yeah, I just feel like it needs a bit more. This one looks like it actually is designed to sit in there, but it's just a bit of a flat-looking rock thing, isn't it? So what I'll do, rather than maybe putting rocks on this one here, I seem to be getting a bit of protest about it. What I have done on the datasmith here, this is the guy that walks with the two robots and programs them, is I've done actually less cracks. I've done more kind of just undulating terrain or even just crumbly terrain. I think that seems to have worked a little bit more, but you know, I want to explore lots of different textures. So, do you know what? Let's get some terrain on there. I've got some Grelin earth. I've got some Sterling mud. I think if I go with this one, Sterling mud, this is the gritty looking one. Yeah, excellent. Let me find a scoopy spatula. There's a scoopy spatula. So what I can do with this is apply it on really thick, and that will create some sort of, you know, topography, some lumps and bumps, and make it not look like it's just a completely flat surface. I can also in a second start gluing some stones and rocks in. I can add some sand into it as it dries. It will make it look quite nice. And if anybody's done different desert themed bases and things, I'd love to see pictures of them, so please inspire me by posting them up on Facebook. There's a link to our Facebook page just downstairs in the description of this video. Please go check it out. I always say that with a base, the model isn't done until the base is done. It's like the thing for me to have, and you know, finish it all off. It tells a story. It sets the model off. There's a cat hair in my Sterling mud. What would a show be without a bit of cat hair in it, eh? And I think that this texture is primarily intended to create, you know, mud. Wet mud. You could even turn it to dry mud. But what I'm just trying to do is just sort of get some textures that look a little more random and natural, rather than it just being a sheer flat ice rink of a base. Because at that point it stops it from looking like a painted model into a character. Because the best characters come from the best stories. And the best stories have the best setting. And that's essentially what a base is, right? It's its setting. You did mine, remember? I did your waddies. Is that what you're talking about when I did your dried up riverbeds? If that is what you're referring to, yes, you're absolutely right, I did. But all I did really was put the texture paint, the crackle paint on it. Everything else was done by you, and it was a larger piece. That's a big terrain piece that you did, and it's not a 40 or 50 millimeter base where if you don't put in little bits of effort to make it stand out, like add contrast in the cracks and stuff like that, it looks unpainted. This is one of the reasons that I paint the tool handles wood effect on my tanks. It was very, very likely, and in most cases, that tools would probably be painted the same colour as the camouflage of the tanks, because you don't want it to stand out, and it probably was just all painted together, right? But I think that looks like that as a painter you just haven't painted them, because I'm not good enough to make them stand out if they're the same colour. So I paint them all wood effect. That's not saying that all of them were painted, of course, some of them probably were just wood effect. But I do all of my tanks with that because I want it to stand out. I'm going to add a little bit of sand in there just to see what that's like. Does it have a different... Does it dry differently? Had some fun with it. Right. And it's also quite important, I've discovered, to make sure that where the feet are, that you get right up to the feet, because if you don't, it looks like that he's standing in two very clear spots, which is very unnatural. All this is going to be painted. I'm going to paint this all like oranges and browns and stuff anyway, so not too worried about this sand just looking like a big pile of sand in front of him. It is all going to be painted. I would like to stick some rocks down as well, so what I'm going to do here, leave my spatula there for a second, is just maybe collect a couple of rocky things out of here. Pick a couple of good looking ones. There's a fun looking one. The reason I'm picking them out is because these actually come from a placemat, you know, like you eat your food on a plate kind of placemat. And they have two very, very flat sides generally because they're just broken up, but where it would have laid flat on the table and where you would put your plate on it are the two surfaces. So over here, for example, you can see that's a very flat surface there. It's a very flat surface there, and it just looks like a tree that's been sawn by a chainsaw or a sawmill. So that there itself isn't going to work so well. So I pick up ones that have got a bit more cubic mass to them, if you like. And then I just, where they got like overly flat surfaces, I either glue that face down or I just chop them up with a knife a little bit. I picked out some ones a little while ago, actually for this project, and you can see that I've got a couple that are a little less flat and they just look a little bit more rocky. So what I'm going to do, a mixture of these, get my super glue. There it is. Hopefully I can open this because I don't know where my pliers are. I can open it. Excellent. Because it's old now and it dries. The hole needs a little puncture at the top. Yep, and the water hole, says Jeff. Yeah. So that whole waddy diorama, loved it. Just slightly bigger scale, so, you know, larger surface, so it just was able to carry itself a bit more. I'm just gonna put a blob of super glue there, like that. And now I'm just gonna dip these rocks into it and just stick them to the base and then add mud around them. So I'll take this one here. Smush. I will perhaps add this one right here. Just hold that down for a second. There we go. Just a little something, right? I'm going to add a couple more just in and around the back here. So this particular rock here has got some flatter surfaces on it, which I'm not entirely happy with. So I could, here's a little idea, see if I can I pick bits out of it? It's actually quite tough cork. Very hard to do that. Got some more pointier tweezers here somewhere. A little bit more stabby, perhaps. Spiky ones, where I can actually dig into some of the flat surfaces, like this one here. See if I can actually pull something out of it and make it look a little bit more. There we go. Make it look a bit more random. And I always save all those chunky bits. stick that down. See what that comes out like. I don't like it, of course I could just pull it off. Okie dokie. What I might do is just use this texture paint pretty much where I've applied it now, and I might just do on this one side over here, just like the crackle effect, just to make it look like it stood on, you know, an area of different surfaces, because it's not all going to be like this on their planet. It's not all going to be crackle, you know, crackly dry beds as well, is it? Well, maybe it would be, but I don't want it to look that way. It's also nice to come back to this little project as well, because it feels like that the project is done. So I don't feel like I'm in any... I'm not trying to rush it. It doesn't need to be completed. The model is done, and all I'm doing is just neatening up the thing in which it stands on. And that's a nice feeling, because normally I'm all about the getting it done pressure. And I do now have a Dryomatic, so that I can help speed this process up, which is great. Probably gonna have to start getting in with a brush very, very soon, because this spatula is pretty good for scooping, but actually kind of getting it into small areas, like in and around the foot and under this rock that I've put in here, it's actually not the best tool. It just kind of sticks to the spatula and it just sort of splodges it around a little bit, where a brush I've got a little bit more control. Trying to build this mud effect up around the rocks just a little bit to make it look like that they are sat in, you know, millennia of dusty ground, not just sat on the top of it. Want them to make it look like they're kind of poking out a little bit. I think you might need to get a brush to get in with that one. Stay still, paint pot. Yeah. Okay, that's that side done there. I'll just get a little bit in around the back of the foot over here. And then I'm going to do, like perhaps from here, just over here, and actually over the top of that, a little bit of texture. I'm actually going to put some crackle paint in there as well. Emma's joined us. Hi Emma, how you doing? Nice to see your name in the live chat, all the way from Australia, I presume. How are you guys keeping? You alright? Nice to see you. Waving emoji. Love it. Trying to be careful with how much of this paint that I use because, well, we know Citadel paints, while they're very good, they are very expensive, and you know, don't want to use everything I've got on just one base. That would be silly. And I know you can make your own sort of texture paints or whatever, but the quality of the Citadel ones just seem to be more than what I would produce. So I'm quite happy to carry on buying them. They make exceptional crackle paints. I've played around with a lot of different crackle paint brands, and you know, nothing really compares to the Citadel one. Whatever it is Citadel doing there, they're doing right. Well done, Citadel. Keep it up. Just bring your prices down, guys. Crying out loud. You have the monopoly. You can afford to bring it down. Anyway, who am I to talk on such, you know, things? Right, I'll just see if I can get it in between that rock and its foot, and then I'll change paints. Okay, not going to bother doing that a little bit there. I could do, but like I said, I don't want to waste my paint. So, just wash that off. Going to have the grittiest paint water now. Emma says, yes, we are indeed in Oz. We're both doing alright. Wishing we were back in the UK, but it's nice to be home. Glad to hear you're safe. Been very happy to see my dogs. We hope all is well back in the UK. It's all okay in the UK. We're having some nice weather at the moment, which is very, very nice. It's not been too hot, but you Australians are used to tarmac melting temperatures, so I'll stop talking to you too much about the hot weather. I think a Grelin Earth, Adrian might be able to tell me straight off the bat here without a Google search. This is a crackle paint, or is this a mud texture paint just in a different colour? Grelin Earth. I can't quite remember. I bought it a while ago now. Don't know. I think it is, because the matching colour is a Grelin Badland, and I think that is the gritty paint. Am I right? I'm right, aren't I? A Grelin Earth is the crackle paint. I'm right, aren't I? I know I am. I know I am. You can tell me that I am. It's fine. It looks thick and gloopy like a crackle paint should. Gonna give it a shake because it seems to have settled in there. Now I've got lots of different types of crackle paints. I've even got the Green Stuff World ones, and I love Green Stuff World paints. They just don't compare. I've also got some crackle medium from Vallejo. Rubbish. Do not like it at all. Unless there's a specific way to make it work in a better way, I don't know how to do that. So if anyone's worked with that and you get nice big cracks, it makes very, very small, almost broken glass style ones. So if you want to do like a bullet through the windscreen effect, this might be your best effort. But when you're doing big heroic scale models like this, you want big cracks. Stop talking. Ooh, that is thick and gloopy. That to me looks like a crackle paint. When that dries, it will dry in big slabs, it will split, and it will look like a riverbed, and it's going to look cool. So, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to brush it in. I'm not going to use my expensive brushes. I'm going to use one of these really cheapo brushes that I've got here. Hopefully these bristles aren't too soft, but I've actually got some control over it as well. And I'm just going to blob it in excessively. I'm going to try and keep it flat to stop it from looking like it's raised up above the textures around it. But it needs to go on thick. The thicker it goes on, the bigger those cracks will be, and it will look super awesome. Desperately try and not get it on the model itself, but I have a little bit, but a little bit of water on the end of a brush in a minute will help that. Just make sure I keep it nice and neat and even right on the edge of the base rim there. Just wipe that away, that looks much nicer now. Stafford says, I've discovered that German camo is almost as frustrating as 15mm tank tracks. Yep. I found it really easy in the style I did. Yeah, actually your effect, Kev, seems to have really worked very, very well. Jeff says, if you can find a good recipe for crackle paint and make it on a larger scale for terrain makers, you're in the money. Yes, well, we've had this conversation loads, haven't we? Crackle paint that has just the right mixture of whatever medium goes into it would be a real money maker. You're absolutely right. Now I've taken this crackle paint effect actually onto the muddy surface over here just to kind of create some sort of differentiality in its appearance rather than just looking like a puddle on here. I could do a little bit at the back over here as well, just where that mud's a little bit thinner. Actually see the base through it a little bit there. So now that the crackle effect is just in patches in this base. He's not just stood on a riverbed, he stood on an area that has cracky puddles. Cracky puddles. And one of the things that I learned from Duncan Rhodes was it should have varying textures in it. And you can even add just a little bit of sand on it as well. Which I might do in a minute, just to kind of help create the blending of textures. And I'm just trying to follow the natural sort of shape of the topography that I've got on here, creating a natural sort of puddle effect. This paint won't run, so I have to kind of push it in place myself. And now what I'm going to do is just make sure that is all roughly the same sort of height along there. Excellent. And again, I'm just going to do the same over here, make sure that's nice and thick. I'm just adding in some big blobs, etc. Lovely. Okay, cool. Already, we've got something that looks a little more interesting, a little more exciting to kind of put your eyes to than just a very, very flat plastic base. Ever so slightly more involving than this one here. The colours are still not great on this, but hopefully I can match it in this time. yeah, this is all I'm trying to do, is just create something a little bit more interesting. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to wash this brush out, and I'm just going to feather in some water just on the edges. I don't know if this is a really effective thing to do, but Duncan Rose has done it, and if it's good enough for Duncan, it's good enough for me. So I'm just going to get me my number 1 brush rather. And I'm just going to saturate the bristles, just dab it off on a piece of tissue, and I'm just going to feather out the edges of where I've applied that. Actually, a bit more water perhaps, just to stop it looking like it just suddenly goes to crackle paint texture. It just softens the edges out where the two textures meet. And I have to say, what he did looked really good. So yeah, those bells have rung ever since. Bring that texture down the side of the foot properly, and just where I've got that paint on the side of this foot, just to stop it from drying on there. I'm going to come in now with a wet brush and just try my best to scoop that out. It will work, but obviously because it's got a colour to it, I want to make sure that the colour comes away from it as well. There we go, it's working. Crum says, how do we all feel about GW's next price hike in June, July? Oh, well, do you know, any price hike I'm not entirely happy about, because I always like to protect my bank. It's one of those things, you can't really control it. Hopefully, you know, through proper protest, you know, decent protest, we can hopefully make them see sense. I don't think it's necessary. They might see differently. They've got to keep their profit margins up, I suppose. Kes says, I try not to think about it, and 3D print might be the way forwards. It's sad that we feel, as a community of people, feel pushed away from our favourite hobby manufacturers in that way, but it's an absolutely legitimate feeling that Kes is talking about. I'm seriously considering painting busts and playing alternative games, Marvel Crisis Protocol and the like. Yeah, I know quite a few people that have boycotted Warhammer. For me, Warhammer 40,000 is my first love in terms of war games. I won't leave it. But I've already said this loads of times on this show, I'm not happy with the latest release of the rules. I'm not saying it's a bad set of rules, it just doesn't work for me, so I don't play 10th. So, you know, I haven't played 40k for a long time now. I will come back to it at some point, and some of my friends might decide to do that at the same time. And I doubt we'll play 10th. It just doesn't work for me. There are some good things about it, but so many people I've spoken to agree with me. You're just chasing sixes. It doesn't have any tactics in the game. There's no strategy anymore. It's just about busting everything in front of you, and that's literally all it is. Just power moves. I don't like it. Kez says, they stopped making the upgrade kits for my army anyway. Yeah, and just like Crum says, Cromlech is good for bits. There are a few really good third-party providers out there, but yeah, when you're looking for your specific like badges and whatever, it's very difficult to stay interested, isn't it? Fortunately, I do know of some providers that will do all your upgrade kits for you, all 3D printed. I know of the people who print all that sort of stuff. Perhaps I'll get involved in that later on Discord if you want to join me later on. Do you know what? We're actually at the time for a quick intermission, aren't we? So let's come away from here for a minute. I'll quickly go through the rest of the conversation while we're here, waiting to go to break. Crumb Studio says, here's what army do you paint? Space Marines, Red Scorpions. Yeah, so the Forge Railed army itself, isn't it? And it's a pretty much dead company, really. So, yes, but I do know companies that will provide you with all your badges, etc. So we'll talk about that later on. Table of Horrors has joined us. Hello, hello. Only just got the alert that you're live. Oh, I don't know why that is. I'm sorry to say that. But yes, we are alive. We are alive and live. As you can tell, not scripted or rehearsed in any way. Hi Shiv, hope you're doing well, mate. Crumb Studio says, I have a DG Army. Dark Angels? No. DG Army though, that I'll paint DG. Why am I struggling to work out DG? Please tell me what DG is. DG. Nope. For some reason, that's not going in. Death Guard. Just got it. Thank you. Table of Horrors says, also, thanks to Danny, now I own a Necromunda Ashwaith box set. Did I buy it for you? I don't know. I mean, or did I inspire you? Would love to know if I inspired you. Death Guard, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Grown up drink time. You're absolutely right. Do you know what? I always start the day with a cup of tea. And when I came up into the studio, it's actually been the first time since I finished doing my M4 Sherman that I've been up here, and I had half a cup of tea, and it was almost solid, and it had a bit of flow to it, and there was lots of solid green patches in there, so I had to go and disinfect my cup. Not only can I not clean my airbrush, I don't clean up after myself in the kitchen either. It's disgusting, isn't it? I'm so sorry. But yes, I've got a bottle of red downstairs, which I'm going to go and get into in a minute. Anyway, very quickly before I shoot off for a quick break, I'm just going to feather out the edges of these other puddles that I've just put on here too. Feathering those two technical paints together. I have just remembered how I've inspired Shiv at Table of Horrors into Necromundas, because we had a chat a few weeks ago now, because it's been a few weeks since Shiv's been around. We had a chat on Discord in the after party about Necromunda and the new version that, whilst it's not totally new, it is the newest version. We spoke about just the way that the new game plays and how it plays on a 2D board. Generally, you can play on a 3D board, but that's how everybody remembers Necromunda. It was a vertical game, like it was all about having the different levels. So when they re-released Necromunda, some many years after the initial game, there was a lot of protest, and I was one of those people going like, well, how can you play on a 2D board? It's all about the levels. Anyway, a friend of mine at work bought a couple of box sets of it so that he could run big tournaments at where I work. And it was the most popular thing on Centre, where at the location where I work, and everybody, despite their background, came and played Necromunda, and we actually played it on the 3D boards as well, and it lost the element that we all enjoyed so much. So the new version of Necromunda, where you don't play necessarily in the 3D aspect, is absolutely brilliant. It's a very rewarding game with some epic scenes and tales to be told in them. You'll love it. Anyway, I've just ruined the edge of that texture there, so I'm just going to come in with some more water and feather that out a little bit. Brilliant. Let's see how that goes. I've got the Drymatic as well to help aid that. Some people say you shouldn't speed dry crackle paint. Some people say you should. Other people say use a combo and get different techniques out of it, or different styles out of it. And I agree with the latter. So yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute. Ever so quick before we disappear, Table of Horror says you had good words to say about the new. Yeah, there we go. The new version of Necromunda, and I don't have internet at the moment technically, so he remembers me. Swoon. Yeah, man, I remember all of my followers. Anyway, we're going to disappear for a quick break, just for 10 minutes. So here's some jazz while you wait. In the meantime, go change your paint water. Do yourself a favour. Welcome back. Hope you had a good intermission. I did a thing. I got so involved with practicing what it is that I'm doing that I didn't go and get myself a grown-up juice. Bit of a shame, isn't it? But I'm not here to disappoint you, so I'm not going to leave you hanging. And I never get out of the chair. That's a part of the rules. I don't need you to see behind me. It's just untidy. I don't need you to see that. So I'm just going to sit here and finish off my now cold cup of tea. And I'll join you after the show and the Easy 8 after party on Discord, where I'll bring my grown-up juice and we'll get proper drunk and everything. It'll be great. Well, not proper drunk. I've got work tomorrow, but you know we can have a grown-up juice. It'll be fine. So yeah, you enjoy your grown-up juice. Cheers. Happy weekend, everybody. I hope you have a good time. That tastes cold. That is delicious. I have to tell myself, otherwise the reality hits me. Cool. Anyway, look, I hope you're having a great evening so far. I hope you're getting some painting done. It does sound like some people are. There's some very funny comments going in that I've been watching here. I really do like Crumb Studios' idea on getting things done quickly. A Karcher pressure washer filled with red paint for my Khorne army. Please do that. I need to see that. I want a video. It needs to go on Facebook and YouTube. It needs to go viral. I want to see that happen. I don't care how catastrophic it is. Please make that happen. That would be great. I also want to know how to learn how to paint by osmosis. That'll be interesting to see. Again, videos, please. Staff says, Table of Horrors, I hate painting. I can spend hours converting individual models for a squad, then paint them with a spray can. It's only thanks to Easy 8 that I have some better painted models. Thanks very much. I really appreciate these little anecdotes of victory and success or whatever. It's exactly what the show's all about. Whether you're a great painter or you believe yourself to be a terrible one, it's about getting your stuff done, and just through the process of doing more, you'll get better. And hopefully, eventually, you'll start to enjoy the process. One of the really big lessons that I've learned, and I'm still learning, and to be honest, it's only a recent discovery, is that less is more. Don't try to do all the really cool effects on a model this big. Try not to do it straight away. Like if you think that you're not really above painting within the lines, then don't try and do OSL and all those really glorious effects in non-metallic metals. You're going to set yourself up for failure. Failure is a part of the process, but small victory. Start off from the bottom and just make yourself happy by painting a tabletop standard army. You don't have to be a hero and paint heroically. It's just unnecessary. I always like to add in tons and tons and tons, and I have to try and dial it back a little bit. There's a set of YouTube shorts that I've recently seen from other content creators out there. One of those is What Are You Painting Next? And they are just an incredible couple of people who create really inspiring shorts. Sometimes they talk about how effects are made. Sometimes they talk about the mental effects of painting for hours trying to recreate something wonderful that you've seen, when actually you should only be painting under that. Doesn't mean that your paint job's any worse. It just means that you're not going to be trying to do something that you're not capable of doing at your level yet. I can't paint those things, but I have come a long way in the time that I've been doing this show. So hopefully through this show you get your big hordes of unpainted plastic painted, and through the journey you get better as you get from one end to the other. And of course you should be enjoying it. It's your hobby. If you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? But don't go, Stafford. We love you. Table of Horror says, whereas a Khorne army would be mostly disappointment, I feel personally attacked. I love a Khorne. I'm vegetarian, and no animal needs to go into my frying pan to keep me fed, and Khorne is a great product. Thank you very much. But I would love to see an army of Khorne berserkers. It's just vegans, isn't it? That's what that is. I still hate painting, says Stafford. Yeah, man. Stafford, Causey, your stuff looks great though, man, no matter what, says Table of Horrors. Yeah, I agree with Stafford. That's a really nice thing to say. That's why we're creating a lovely community here. Keep in the love. Keep it coming. Brethren says, I only ever paint to battle ready standard. I don't have the patience for more than that. That's exactly it though, right? Paint something that you're happy with, that looks half decent, and sometimes you might feel inspired to go and paint that one character that needs to stand out from your army, like you got a commander or whatever. If you're trying to paint a horde army where every single one, this is what I'm trying to say, if you're trying to put that level of effort into every single model you do, you're never going to get finished. Even pro painters still take forever doing that. It's their life, and I bet you if you ask any professional painter that if they had to paint a horde army or even like a large amount of models to that level of standard, they're going to tell you they don't enjoy it. And what I'm trying to say is, it's your hobby. You come here to this forum, Easy 8, to paint your models, make some friends and have fun doing it. So don't set yourself up for those failures. Enjoy your hobby, paint something that makes you happy, and you will get better by doing more. The more you paint, yes, they might suck in your mind, but by the end of your journey, or by further along your journey, because there will be no end to this one, right? Because we're all artists, it never stops, you will get better and better. So keep it up. I love all your stuff. I'm genuinely inspired by every single person who shares all their photos and messages and whatever on Facebook, on Instagram, which is where we hang out, man. So keep those comments coming in. Keep all those pictures coming in. Keep on joining in the live chat and sharing the love like what's going in there tonight. It's lovely, isn't it? The only effect you need is streaking grime, says Table of Horrors. Maybe with a little more streaking grime. Yes, that's what I used on my M4. Do you know what? I'm going to go back to it. Let's take you back over to the workbench. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I did all of that without looking. That was great. Here's my M4, just because some of you might not have seen it earlier on. Let's move the robot out of the way. Here he is. Yeah, I really like him. He's so cool. He has been completely tarnished with streaking grime. I could have done like a grim dark style thing where you slather it all on then remove it. Basically I put in lines of it, quite thick lines along the edges, and then did streaking things with it, and because I put on quite a bit, it spilled out all over the place and I was able to kind of move it around, and that has left some streaks on there you might be able to see. It's a smaller model, so I didn't go crazy with it. I have recently learned to get better effects out of my weathering pencils, which I've always struggled with. I read somewhere and watched some videos where it kind of showed me how to do it, and I was like, right, yeah, now I get it. And it took a little bit of getting used to. My voice went weird. It took a little bit of getting used to, but eventually I was able to start making like rust lines and whatever, because whereas we're used to like painting Warhammer 40,000 where you do edge highlighting, actually like historical armor, if you look at it, their edges have edge lowlights where the rust really shows through, because those hard edges are where paint's going to take a lot of wear and tear. So yeah, you put like a lot of rust on all of these very harsh edges, and even on these softer edges as well. But I started to realise I was putting too much weathering into it because it's a small model, it doesn't need that. But I love this model. It's come out really well. I could have done better, but I'm very happy with where it's at. Yeah, sick. It's my model, man. Yeah, okay. I've caught up on all of the comments. Brilliant, wicked. Back to this one then. So yeah, what I was doing was I was trying to work out if there were other ways of getting the cracks to kind of stand out a little bit more on here. Now this is much more orange than the base on here. But I've realised that I've got a paint that is very, very close to this orange. When we went to Exeter Legionary show a few weeks ago, I met up with Grant from Overlord Games, and Overlord Games has just recently started stocking the single paints for Army Painter's War Paints Fanatic range. High pigment, high quality paints. I literally just stuck a little bit on the palette. First time I've opened one, the colour that came out was very close to what I've got. Not exactly, but that's not why I got it. And I just used a little bit as a dry brush and just tried to bring out the cracks on this painted section over here. It has sort of done the job. It has brought out the highlights a little bit, but it's still not really what I wanted. I've got such a thing in my head and I can't shake it. And I know that goes against everything I've just preached, but it's my paint. The reason I got this paint, and I'm very happy about this, means that I'm going to have another practice at when I do my next Skitari model or my next Adeptus Mechanicus model. Is previously what I've been doing is spraying them orange and then hand painting all the silver. If I do it the other way, which sometimes is easier because the silver is very difficult to get in some of the places and the orange is much easier to hand paint. If I spray them silver and then paint the orange over the top, it's almost impossible to get decent coverage with an orange because they are shockingly low coverage. What I'm hoping is that this, as a very heavy pigment paint, might do the job, where I could spray the thing silver, paint a couple of layers of this on, hide the undercoats of silver, and then go over with my standard colour paint. That's what I'm hoping. I'm still happy with the way that I do things by doing it all orange and then hand painting silver. It just gives me another tool in my arsenal. So, there we go. What are your preferred paints for what jobs? Yes, I use lots of different things. I use everything from acrylics to oils, very rarely oils, and I use enamels for the weathering. So I really had to think then. So all my streaking grime is all done by enamels by AK Interactive, almost identical in its consistency to Ammo MIG. But what I've been doing with these is this is all acrylics. This is all Citadel features on the base over here, and what I've been doing is using Vallejo pigments. These are the pigments that I've got. I said pigments with a very pronounced P. I've got a black one, which I don't really use very much. I've got a sienna, or burnt sienna rather, which is a nice sort of orangey brown colour, and then I've also got a dark red ochre, which I use as an oxide, which is the main colour that provides the orange for this base here. It's very close to the orange that's on their armour, but it stands out enough with a mixture of browns. I have been using Hull Red. Where is my Hull Red? Disappeared somewhere. From the Vallejo model air range. I bought this originally for doing undercoats on tanks. It's totally the wrong colour, so I've got a couple of pots of this, which I've been using to actually paint the bases. So on this particular model here, you can see that is Hull Red. Bit patchy, but it's Hull Red. And then over the top of that, I put my texture paints or whatever, paint that Hull Red again, and then I do my pigments. I'm just not very good at doing pigments yet. Yeah. That's my story. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is something very exciting. I'm going to cover up all my loose particles because I'm about to get out my Drymatic, kindly donated to me by Stafford in the live chat. Thanks, Staff. Lovely. I'm going to hide all my cork bits because they're going to go flying everywhere, aren't they? And I'm just going to dry them for a second because we've got some texture paints on here. The Sterling Mud, which is the dark brown stuff, seems to be almost dry. It's created some really nice textures on there. I've got some pools of the crackle paint. You can see that the crackle paint is starting to crackle here, but it's very, very thin on these smaller patches, so I'm getting smaller cracks there, which I'm not entirely keen on, but it'll add some differentiation in there. Same here, and hopefully this bigger bit, which isn't dry yet, will crackle nicely. When that's all done, I will paint it all Hull Red, which is a very dark brown red colour, almost a dark burgundy. Paint the rocks a grey colour, and then hopefully I'll be able to get some orange pigment in there. So anyway, I'm just going to mute the microphone because you don't want to hear my Drymatic go crazy, but I'm going to start drying this model and see what happens. Well, there we go. Some wonderful comments going in. Doing anything nice over the weekend, sir? Well, you know, purging Xenos and witches. Oh, that's lovely. You can see some cracks starting to appear there already. Starting to get some very large cracks. It looked like it was starting to crack a little bit too quickly, so I've just decided to pull away from that for a second, and I'm going to let that just dry calmly on its own for a moment. One of the things that I did want to try briefly on here is just in a couple of key spots, maybe in between some of these cracks where you can see that the pigment is really strong. I wonder to myself if what I don't like about this is the orange is between the cracks and not on the cracks. So what I'm going to do is actually mix some pigments with some water, because paint has medium in it, which makes it behave differently with just coloured water essentially, which is what a pigment is. So I'm going to add some pigment to water and see if I can make it run between those cracks, or even sitting on top of the slabs if you like, because it'll be easier to guide in basically. Pigments is messy. Pigments is messy, man. So I'm just going to put this little piece of tissue down just so it doesn't go all over my worktop and then all over my hands and all over my arms. I get such frizz from the heat of my flamer. It's just such a pain doing anything with. From my flamer, do you mean? Can't even open this bloody thing. Here we go. Right, so let's find a decent brush to pick some pigment up with. If I just get this one here. So this is just like the driest powder paint ever. Reminds me of poster paint when you're a child at primary school. All I'm going to do is just get like a little lump of it like this. I'm just going to drop probably half of that. Oh no, maybe all of it, okay. Into my paint palette on the side. And I'm just going to add some water to it. Let me just get rid of this. Just a touch of water. And it makes a very weird, pasty mess. It doesn't behave like paint at all, but that's the whole point. I can make it really, really runny now. And I should just get a watery pigment that I can apply using capillary action. It should just flow between the cracks. And I'm going to give that a try on my test piece first. Because if it works with this colour, it works with the other colours as well, and I can use a darker colour to go between them. I just thought that I would use this one now on this test piece because I've already made between the cracks go dark. So I'll just load my brush up with a load of water, add it to this pigment thing in here, and I wonder if I can. Yeah, I can. The trick is to not really get it on top of the cracks, right? Can I do it quite precisely? And just drop it in. Okay, what happens if I go over some of these darker cracks here? Actually on the slabs itself. Quite easy to control. So that is mixing almost directly, or just in with the powder, just kind of applying it all over. It's a very, very strong colour, and that will dry very powdery. Such a strong colour. I'm just not very good or very confident at using pigments. I can try and wash that down now, add a bit of water to it, move it around. And it's just, I'm just trying to get used to how these pigments behave. Let me go back to the hairdryer a minute. Sorry, the Dryamatic. And the great thing about these is they dry very, very quickly. And you can see here where that is dried. It doesn't look like it's been wet at all, but it has a very different appearance. It looks like it's been moved by water and dried very, very dry. It looks very different. It has no shine to it at all, which some paints do. They have a slight glossiness when they dry. You can see that reflecting over there. That is very, very dry. And so is this. So I'm just trying to get used to how these paints behave. So what I could do is mix up some water in this bright orange colour and apply it to the tops of these slabs that have dried darker than the cracks, and I could get a darker brown colour, mix that up and mix that between the cracks to kind of change the contrast. There's just something about this area here that doesn't look very, very natural. Over here, this looks fine. I actually quite like the fact that the dark brown shows through. That kind of, shows that dust is settling in and around it. This looks weird, and I don't know what it is about that that's making me feel so uncomfortable. I just don't know. Loads of comments going in here. Some stuff in here that I don't quite know what we're talking about. Crumb says, I remember seeing a video about shaving off bits of street chalk and using that as a ghetto pigment powder and applying it with a makeup brush. Now that's modelling. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Can't remember the name of the person who did the video. Besides, Easy 8, does anyone watch any model painters? Marco is great. Yeah, I watch a few. I just kind of flick through YouTube for inspiration sometimes. I often just type in like a paint or a technique, and that often comes up with people. I enjoy watching The Source. He's very, very good, and he keeps it simple as well, and he can produce some very good quality paint jobs. There's also El Miniaturista, which I'm surprised I managed to say that correctly. He is incredible at doing OSL. Oh, El Miniaturista, so good. Yeah, there you go. Also, the painting phase and Duncan Rhodes, they're both very, very good, right? Kez says, don't watch anyone on a regular basis, but just look for models that I'm interested in and see who has done them. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Right. Yeah, I'm a bit, I don't know how to, you know what I mean? Yeah, of course you do. With this one, what I think I want to do is, like I was saying earlier, is create a rockier landscape, because I've got a larger space to work with, and I think it would be remiss of me to pass up on that opportunity. This particular rock here, like I was saying, it's got some really nice textures on the top there that I want to kind of showcase, and some textures down the sides that I think will look really good. This here's got loads of surface area to kind of super glue that down, and I could build up with a little bit of liquid putty, perhaps even some just modelling putty, just to kind of make that look like it's slope that in on this side here. Very this kind of gap where my brush can go underneath, and just kind of blend that edge off into like a raised surface. I think will look quite nice. I think just like that will just make it look, interesting. There are no other model painters on YouTube for me. Thanks, man. That means so much. But you should definitely go check out some other sources of inspiration, because there are cool people out there, But thanks. Crumb says, painting face is good. I had a legend of their podcast just recently. Yeah, I just think he's down to earth. Shiv, you say that you cause that because Senpai remembered you not alone. Oh yes, calling me Senpai. Oh my god, I'm famous now. I'm easily influenced. Brilliant. That's what I need to know. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna glue that down here. I might glue another piece on in a second. And I've got here plastic putty. This is a water-soluble putty that you can use to fill in tiny little cracks, but you can also use it to fill in larger cracks. It will sort of reanimate if you apply water over the top of it, but once kind of sealed in with varnish or paints and things like that, I hope it won't disappear. So yeah, that's kind of my plan, is to sort of blend in this rock with that. So without further ado, where's my super glue? That rhymes. I'm a poet and I didn't even realise. Poems don't have to rhyme. Okay. So first of all, let's just know where I want to go. I think I'd like it to be like that. So if I decide to put another bit of rock over here, it will look kind of cool. Do I want it to be like this? drawn and lie flat. I think I'll do it like that. That'll look kind of cool, I reckon. Just stick it on there, Danny. Stop overthinking it. Ugh. Cray. Probably put way too much super glue on there, but I don't want it to ever come off, so yeah, that's why. Okay. Well, there you go, that's not coming off. Ever. Splooge. Stappen says, if you are easily influenced, I strongly suggest you don't go to a model show with Danny and Kez, and if you do, don't take your bank card. I'll let them tell you why that's funny. It's a great game. It's my game, I'll be honest. I told Kez all about it. She can't get enough of it. It's a good game. It's very funny. So, this is a thick, viscous liquid putty that if you water it down, turns less viscous. Don't worry, I don't leave the house. All I'm going to do is just basically pour this in like this. I'm going to add basically some wet brush to it and then try and poke it in underneath and try and make that blend away a little bit. See how that goes, right? Try something new. I'm going to use my little pigment brush, the one I was just using for that a minute ago. I'm going to add a little bit of water, so just some soaking bristles basically. It is not a great game, it's brilliant. Hey, you walked away with a lot of stuff. You had loot. What's not to love? Of course you like it, it's a great game. Now, this looks a little bit messy at the moment, but I can see how I want it to go. What I'm just trying to do is just force the putty back underneath that rock so that it goes all the way in. So I'll have essentially better grip. Want it to kind of go deeper. Which it has done. And now I can add more and basically slope that off. You'll see what I mean in a minute. You see how it's kind of gone underneath the undercroft of that rock? Basically creating a false landscape. It's quite fun actually. Oh, air bubble. What this is particularly useful for is filling in cracks on your models, or seams where the two pieces have not gone together so well. But it is very fragile and it's very easy to sand out, and it's also very easy just to kind of water out, if that makes sense. If you reanimate it by adding a wet brush later on, it's easy to kind of scrape it out. Sam has joined us. Samuel Coles. Hey buddy, hey man, how are you doing? Nice to see you joining live in the show. Thanks for coming along all the way down from sunny Cornwall. We're getting some good numbers viewing tonight. And again, later on I'll colour all of this white away so it won't look like a messy tundra. Yeah, obviously I'll paint it away. I'm going to let this sort of dry. It doesn't take very long to dry, and I am going to hit it with the hairdryer. And I'll be able to add a little bit more on the top. And where it's gone on the stone there, I'm not too fussed about that because I want it to look like landscape that's on the stone, but like the stone's popping out through like just erosion. Like rocks just appear, don't they? Not like just appeared, like, oh, suddenly rocks, they just suddenly jut out of the soil, don't they? So literally just adding tons of water now, wet bristles. Just removing that from the top, but also blending in the surface where it meets. Oh, just scooped a great big line there. So I'm going to dry that off now with the hairdryer, and I'll be able to come in and add some more and just build the layer up basically. So eventually this whole area up to where that wet line is basically will just be one big solid slope. And if this doesn't work so well, then I can do it with actual modelling putty, so I actually have to like mix it by hand, but that's a bit more time consuming, and you know, it's a different thing altogether, isn't it? Okay, I'm just going to mute the mic while I hit it with the hairdryer. The Easy Ink Dryer-matic. There we go, already dried. I mean, it's still probably very delicate. I could probably still scoop that away. It's probably like icing. It's so bright that it actually reflects all the light. You can't see any of the sort of patination in it that my brush has left. I can see it, but on the screen it's quite difficult to see. But there's still a little bit of there's still quite a sheer drop to the side profile of it, and I want to blend that out into one big scooping line. So, well, that's what I'm going to do. Sam says, "This is awesome, mate. Just chilling, rebuilding some rifles. Good for you, mate. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for calling it awesome. Everyone's really blowing my trumpet today. Love that. Come along and make me feel like I've got a god complex. Clompex. I should probably later on come in maybe with a bit of putty and add some extra sort of rolling landscape effects and whatever. But do you know what I said earlier on? Have fun with it. Just play, explore. If it goes wrong, no one cares. Just create the image that you want. It's a world, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, it's like playing a video game or something. It's like, or even reading a book. You're creating a world, a fantasy, a little form of escapism. That's why we read books. Even when we read a book and it's kind of pre-written for you, everyone builds their own picture in their head, and it's different from everyone else's. Even though you're being told the same story, I bet what you originally think is different. When you read Lord of the Rings for the first time, I bet when you see it on the films, I bet you go, "Oh, that looks different than what I remember or what I imagined." So you build your own little personal fantasy, your own little story, and that's essentially what you do when you're painting a model or making a model. And actually creating the landscape for this weirdo on a slave robot. Sam says, "Is that supposed to be ice?" No, it's not. It will be coloured to look like a Martian dry desert landscape eventually. It's just a white putty, basically. But I could, of course, use it to make a tundra. Eventually, it will look these sorts of colours. So if I get this little dude out here, you can see that I've tried to create a desert landscape that looks like that the robot itself has been painted as a kind of a camouflage to it. throughout this episode, I've been talking about how I'm kind of unhappy with how that generally looks. I can do better. I'm trying to explore how to achieve that. So here I'm creating on this one here, the colours again are all different. That's just colours of the paint. It will be painted like bright oranges eventually. I've just applied different textures and rocks and things to create, sort of like details to kind of capture your attention a little bit. They just stop it from looking so flat or bland and a bit lazy on my part. This one over here is going to have a little mixture of all of it because I've got a larger surface. So I'm just putting this rock in it, and I'm just trying to build up like a slope to make it look like the earth is just sort of compounded around it. So yes, it's just a white colour putty. But I could use it straight away for ice, can I? There are some very talented people out there who are very good at making ice. In fact, if anyone's interested to create ice or snow effects and things, Green Stuff World makes some excellent frost paint effects. Brilliant. I've never read Lord of the Rings. Not a fan. Never have been. How could you? To be fair, the books are a heavy read. The films are amazing and you should watch them. So do this now. Go. Just come back. Stay. It's okay, you're vegetarian, your body can only physically support so much ego. Oh, you don't know me. I inflate my own ego so much that it's lighter than air. Sometimes I struggle to get into the door. Thanks very much. Oh, I feel personally attacked once again. I'll put a little bit down on this side here. Try and blend this little edge off as well. And you can actually see a seam now underneath that rock. Can you just see through there? I'm not going to worry about trying to seal that in with this putty. I'll just use the mud effects. It'll do a good enough job. Table of Horror says, I found the Lord of the Rings books just so dull, to be honest. The Hobbit was a really good read, though, and I normally hate fantasy. And the blows keep on coming. I don't think Lord of the Rings was designed to be an easy read, though, was it? It's going to kind of look like a bit of a sand dune with a rock sticking out of it, hopefully. That's kind of where I'm going there. Yeah. Hitchhiker's Guides are amazingly funny books. Yeah, was it the trilogy in 4 books? 42. Yeah, you're not going to like it. So long and thanks for all the fish. While we're doing this, Star Trek is way better than Star Wars. Yeah, I'm probably going to lose a few subscribers here. Star Wars is a rubbish film. Deal with it. I love a lightsaber, and I've got no issue with that. But if you watch those films, and do you know what? This isn't going to apply to the die-hard fans, because if you like it, you like it, and you're not going to look for those errors. But they're actually just really badly done. They're just they don't tell a good story in a good storytelling way. Man. Okay, I'm going to go on one now. Watch Return of the Jedi. I want to love Return of the Jedi. I like this. I like the bikes. I think they're amazing, and I love the armor that goes with them because I think Stormtrooper armor is rubbish. But I love the Scout armor. I think that's incredible, and I love ATSTs. I love ATATs as well. I think they're cool too. But that film is just a series of horrific events just kind of tortured together. They don't really work. It doesn't flow very well. the whole Jabba the Hutt scene was almost entirely unnecessary. It was just a little bit rubbish. The Rancor Beast was kind of fun, I suppose. But, I mean, spoilers, I'm going to tell you the end of it now. They go to Endor, they meet some teddy bears. Probably, I don't know, some of the worst costume design I've ever seen in my life. I thought the script was terrible. And then all of a sudden it goes the end of the film, and it just suddenly ends. They fly around, they blow up the Death Star again because, you know, originality, and then there's a ceremony. The guys are walking along, they stand up at the end, they get medals. Apart from Chewbacca, he doesn't get a medal, and they just stand there, and it goes done, end of. There's nothing. It goes Death Star blows up, ceremony, medals, bar one because they're racist against Chewbacca and Wookiees, and then it ends, and that's it. Now, at that point, there was never any intention, and George Lucas is on record for saying it, there was never any intention of making any more Star Wars films. So, as far as that saga is concerned, that's how it ended. The Don't Care Bears, yeah. Yeah. I don't like Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back was the best one. Darth Maul is a good bad guy. The new film, the last three that came out, the Disney ones or whatever. But I'm going to contradict myself now. Okay, so I told you I'm going to get on one, right? Rogue One is an amazing film. It's an amazing film. And you don't even have to know Star Wars, you don't even have to like Star Wars to watch and enjoy that film. That was a film that was incredible, because if you don't know Star Wars, it's a good film. And if you do know Star Wars, that what makes it successful is that you know that everybody's gonna die. Because it's all about setting up that one famous line at the beginning of the very, very first film from the late 70s, where the message that Leia is trying to get out is that so many people died getting you this message. So they made a film about it, and Darth Vader's in it briefly at the end, and it is the most terrifying version of Darth Vader as well. They got him brilliant. Rogue One was fantastic. Solo could have been good. They didn't do it. They failed. There was so much they could have done with Han Solo. Is the best character out of the entire series of films. They could have done so much with him. It's almost like that they took every single piece of information they had about Han Solo, all the stories that made him who he is, and they just condensed them down and belched them out in this hour and a half episode. And do you know what? I'm bored of Woody Harrelson. Stop putting famous people in your films that tell great stories just to make the film bigger. It was better with new faces in Rogue One, and yeah, I was disappointed. I was disappointed with that. They could have done 2 or 3 Han Solo films, and we know they like to make lots of films, don't they? Telling the story of how this, handsome, roguish fella got to the place he was in Star Wars, and it was just like they put all their content and blew it in one go, and it just diminished it, and that was a shame. The best character in Star Wars is Gonk Droid, really? Okay, but at least someone agrees with me that Rogue One is the best Star Wars film. I think it was the best film that came out that year in general. Is he describing episodes 4, 6 or 7? So which way do you number them? Because obviously the first original 3 films were originally 1, 2, 3, but when they made the prequel they became 4, 5, 6. So yes, when I was talking about that they are bad films, I was talking about the original 3. They're rubbish. Get over it. You can like it. You're allowed to like it, but they are poor films. However, someone has they've redone the lightsaber fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi, haven't they? If you haven't seen that, go onto YouTube and just check that out. Someone's done it and it is brilliant. Anyway, but the Disney films, the recent ones that came out, the last set with Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley, they just got bad, didn't they? Mandalorian's good though, love that. Didn't watch the is it the Book of Boba Fett? Book of Fett, whatever it is, the Boba Fett one. I haven't watched that yet. Don't know if I'm interested in it. Mandalorian was good. I liked it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Star Wars. It's a badly told story. Love a lightsaber. Love pod races. There you go. There's probably a lot of people out there now reevaluating whether they want to carry on watching Easy 8. Look, if you boycott it, that's okay. We've all got our opinions. I'm just right. What did everybody think about the return of Darth Maul? Told you he was a good bad guy. Seeing him come back, I did get a little goosebumpy, I have to say. That was, of course, at the end of Solo. And you could say maybe I'm just slating Star Wars because I'm a Trekkie. Yeah, I am a Trekkie because it's much better. But I'm not a massive fan of the original series, I have to say. Like, I find it a bit boring. It's a bit dated for me, but I appreciate it for what it was and how it kind of gave birth to Next Generation, which was the original for me. Kind of grew up with that. My favourite was DS9 because it went slightly darker, because it should have been. Anyway. Ooh, talk about tangents, right? Anyway, let's get away from here for a minute. So, lots of exploring different paints and techniques and styles. Oh, excuse me, I've got the hiccups, and trying to get colours, things to kind of work, and struggling and things. And I'm just trying to give myself the space and I suppose the permission really to just have fun with it. And not panic about not having a model finished. These bases have remained unfinished, so they are still unfinished. Nothing's really changed there. I'm just kind of making moves closer to being able to kind of zone in on what's in my head. And the thing is, I don't think I really know what's in my head. Like, do cracks, are they supposed to have like a lighter colour inside or a darker colour for shadow? I don't know. You guys say it looks okay. I just think it looks a little bit and the colour, I think, just kind of blends away a little bit. So I think what I should probably try and do is try and get like the powder colour, the orange colour, to be more subtle and have more a brown effect kind of coming through, because I think that looks quite cool on my little Datasmith, my little miniature here. The ground you can see is very brown, and then there's kind of sort of orangey dust lying around the surface. Nice. I think really that's what Mars is, really, isn't it? It's actually a very rocky planet, and in large concentrations those rocks tend to be very dark grey, and then it's obviously surrounded by iron oxide dust, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. So I think that maybe I should try and focus on making it more brown with grey rock showing through, and then with an orange dust on the top. So just maybe kind of dialing it back a little bit on the dust. Food for thought, right? If anyone's got any ideas or, you know, suggestions or whatever, even beyond the show, put them down there in the comment section, because I love reading comments from you guys. The comments are really starting to pick up lately as well. It's getting a lot of traction with YouTube Shorts, so I'm going to try and do a little bit more of that as time goes on, as and when I've got the time and the concentration to do it. But I will try to do more little things like that too. Don't forget, of course, if you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is to thumbs up the video. We got like 190 subscribers, but on average we get about 6 to 7 thumbs up. So if you are watching the show and you do like it, be honest, of course. If you don't like it, don't put a thumbs up, but if you do, give us a thumbs up, because I love that dust. Anybody? Dust? Yeah. Sorry, sidetrack. But please, of course, do subscribe. If you like the show, subscribers are what really make my world spin around. So if you like what we do and you haven't done it already, please subscribe. Share the name, tell a friend, go and put a little poster up at work or something, because you never know, there might be someone out there who you think might benefit from coming along to a little community like this. We're just a few subscribers away from hitting 200, and for me that's a massive milestone because I never thought we'd get much beyond like 20 or 30 really. So to be on the doorstep to 200 is a very exciting thing for me. Thank you to everybody so far for making it what it is. I really enjoy coming here and chilling out with you guys. And I finished the project recently, so that's super cool. One of the things that I wanted to talk about very briefly before I disappear this show is I wanted to give a quick mention to Brethren, who is in the live chat here today. I'm not going to go into too much detail this week because I haven't done an awful lot of research on it just yet, having only received a few things in the post. But Brethren has designed and made and released, published their own books, their own rule systems on a game that replicates ancient warfare. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because I met Brethren down at Exeter Legionary Show, and I got chatting to him and his partner for quite a while. I got very excited about it, and I was talking about my interests in World War II games, and I don't really play any fantasy games anymore. Never really did that much, to be honest, and I haven't played any ancient historical warfare games. But I was given, just here somewhere, I was given a free copy of the introductory rule set, Brethren, which I took away, and I had a bit of a flick through, and I mentioned to Brethren last week that I was going to give a little bit of a shout out on the show, and he said, if you're going to do that, I would like you to kind of have like a proper read of the real rule set. So very, very generously, I received 3 brand new first edition print books of the full rules of Brethren, the Wargame. And furthermore on that, on Brethren's Facebook page, recently put out that he was inspired by a conversation that me and the Easy 8 crew had with him at Exeter that is actually starting to create rules for a World War II version of the game. The reason I'm not going to go into too much detail yet is I want to start reading through and actually kind of absorb those rules. Whether I get to play them a lot at the moment, I don't know, but I want to be able to read those rules and talk about them more on the show. But it was just really, really nice to meet someone at a show and kind of inspire them to create something new. I'm really humbled by that. Because inspiration, I think, is the greatest gift anyone really has, especially within art. So if you don't know about it already, go and check out Brethren Rules. I've got the other books here somewhere, right here, right beside me. Here we go. So I was given the Skirmish Wargame Historical Rulebook. I was given the supplement Armies of the Dark Ages, and I was also given Armies of the Ancients. So I've got one main rulebook and the supplements that kind of create the different historical periods over the top of that. So please go and check out Brethren. I haven't done it yet because I made the schedule for today's show in a bit of a rush yesterday because I've been very busy over the last few days. I will put a link later on when this video is processed. I'll put a link to Brethren's Facebook page, but it's very, very easy to find. Just go on Facebook and type in Brethren, and you'll find it. There he goes, giving me some hearty faces right there. So I didn't mention it out last week because I forgot and ran out of time. Didn't want to mention it this week because I've recently been given these books and I want to have a good flick through them to talk about them. So next week, hopefully, we can go through it a little bit more in more detail. And of course, if you want to know more, you can just leave a comment just down here, which we can all come back to in the future, or even on Facebook, and get in contact with Brethren Tabletop Wargame directly if you want to, because I'm just a fan and they're the actual source material. So thanks, Brethren. I didn't expect or ask for this at all. This was a very, very generous gift, and that's what I really love about this community. Is it's just full of kindness and sharing, because we all share the same passion for the same hobby. So Brethren Wargame, super cool, right? Love it, and I'm really, really looking forward to whatever comes out of the test games for the World War II version, because I've got all the stuff for that. Stafford's also had his hands on the books, and he says the books also feel silky. They do. The quality of those books, they have a velveteen touch. We were all touching them. We go, ooh, maybe later we'll open them. We didn't. We just touched them and then had a cup of tea. That sounds so weird, and it was weird actually. Easy 8 model devourers. That will be an interesting show. Yeah, the cats. Very soon, 10 more subscribers and we'll get there. I need to have a tidy up because they're going to eat everything. Anyway, what an evening. Slated Star Wars going to lose so many subscribers. The cats won't be for a while. Anyway, look, I hope you've had a lovely evening. Have yourselves a fantastic week. Maybe I'll see you online sometimes. If you want to come and join me on Discord after the show or even during the week, I hang up there all the time. That is the Easy 8 After Party on Discord. Links to all our platforms down there. Like, share, subscribe. World War II rules are working pretty much perfectly. Yes, fantastic. My name's been Danny. You guys have been fantastic. Until next week, stay safe, be kind, keep on painting, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye. I nearly timed that perfectly with the music, but that was just random luck. That wasn't me. I'm not actually a good presenter or anything. Right, now I'm going to go get myself a grown-up juice. See you on Discord!